Hi, welcome back to Swift Scents. I'm Debbie, and I recently posted a video about the two decants we received from Navitus Parfums, Absolutio and Primus. And the discussion on that video and some of the other things that I've seen and heard on different pages on Facebook and such got me wondering. So I wanted to do a comparison video because there's a lot of discussion about Absolutio being similar to Baccarat Rouge 540 and Primus being similar to Aventus. So this is a comparison video, and I have a couple different fragrances here that we are going to compare. I'm going to do the originals, the Primus and the Absolutio, and then some very good clones that I have in our collection that I want to compare. So let's go ahead and get started. First up, I have Absolutio. This is the decant we got. So I'm going to get the opening on that. I have the opening and the dry downs of these. So we'll do the openings first for Absolutio. Then we'll look at the dry downs and see where these compare. And I realize that they're, from what I understand, they're, for example, the Absolutio is like Baccarat 540 and something else. So we're still going to compare just to get how close they really are. I know that they're going to be a little bit different, but we'll see. So the Absolutio on the opening, to me it's slightly a little bit citrus, but I don't know. Let me get this next one that I have. The next one that I have, and I realize this actually probably does need a little bit more time to age, but when I did a first impressions video of it, it actually was very close to the original. This is the Sensual Obsessions version of the Baccarat 540 X Straight. I actually have the original Baccarat 540, not the X Straight, but I think they're still fairly similar, so we're going to just compare. So let me give that one. In my experience, the Sensual Obsessions versions have been extremely close to the original, so this does smell similar to, okay, so Sensual Obsessions and the Absolutio. The Absolutio smells a little bit more citrusy than what I'm picking up in the Sensual Obsessions version. Now this is the actual MFK Baccarat Rouge 540. I actually got probably a little too much on that. Came out more than I thought. Okay, so the actual Baccarat Rouge. The Absolutio is, to me, it has a similar vibe, but it's still its own thing. This is the Sensual Obsessions version. They are almost identical, but I think the Sensual Obsessions version to me is a little bit more sweeter. And this probably does need to age a little bit more because this was literally a brand new fresh batch when I got it. Let's look at the dry downs. So this is the Absolutio, and this is the Sensual Obsessions. The Absolutio is starting to smell, to me, kind of like clove, but I'm pretty sure that's not a note in there. Whereas this, to me, smells like a clean scent, like when you just cleaned your house. It's kind of a clean fragrance. And let's look at the dry down from the original. Yeah, to me, very clean. Sensual Obsessions is similar. Let's look at the Absolutio. Very similar, but again, the Absolutio has more of a spicy vibe to it than the original Baccarat Rouge 540. But if it's from the extrait version, that could be why there's a slight variation. But I do feel that the Absolution is very similar to the Baccarat Rouge 540. Between that and the Sensual Obsessions, let me look at the dry down because that's what's going to stick with you. Sensual Obsessions, Absolutio, the original. Let me compare the original with the Absolution. I think all three are very close. So in my opinion, the Absolution is extremely close to the original, as is the Sensual Obsessions. I would say that, in my opinion, that is an attempt at being a clone of the Baccarat Rouge 540. Now let's look at the Primus, and I actually have three that I'm comparing with that. So this is Primus, the sample we got, or sorry, the decant we purchased. And these are 100% my own opinions. This is just the notes and things that I'm picking up. And again, it is different on skin than it is on paper. I realize that. But to be fair, across the board, I don't have enough skin to put all these fragrances on. So this is the Primus. And right off the bat, it smells very similar to me to Aventus. That's just the first thing that comes to my mind when I spray that. And we're going to compare that with three other ones. So the first one that I have is by Armoff, and this is Club de Nuit Intense Man. A lot of you are familiar with this. This was one of the first clones that my husband picked up when we weren't able to get actual Aventus. We purchased this. So let me compare this to Primus. Very similar, but the Primus has more of a fruity note to it. To me, the Club de Nuit Intense Man is more, for lack of a better word, it kind of smells mechanical, like engine oil or something. That's just the opening. And then let me get you, I also have the Sensual Obsessions version of Aventus. This is the, what they call the Balance batch, not the Smoky batch. We did another video called the Aventus Clone Wars, and the Sensual Obsessions version tied for first place out of 10 different clones for being the most similar to Aventus. So I want to try that one. And I'll put links to that video below if you haven't seen it. That way you can check that one out as well. Everyone's always looking for affordable alternatives to some of these more expensive fragrances, and you know, some of these clones are a good way to go. So this is the Sensual Obsessions version balance batch of Aventus. This is Primus. To me, the Primus is still more fruity. The Club de Nuit is starting to get a little bit like lemony. And then I have the actual Aventus, and this is the 2019, I want to say S batch. So let me get the opening of that for you. I love that. Okay, so actual Creed, Primus, I know a lot of people say they pick up pineapple in the Aventus, but to me it's more lemony. The Primus is a little bit more grassy. Club de Nuit Aventus. Very similar right now. Sensual Obsessions. This is Aventus. This is Sensual Obsessions. Again, very similar. Now, I have the dry downs of these. So the first one that I have, this is Primus. And let's compare that to Club de Nuit. To me, this is getting a little bit more grassy. The Club de Nuit is very lemony. Sensual Obsessions. So to me, the Sensual Obsessions is still very similar to the opening. And then let's look at, this is the Aventus Dry Down. This is the Primus Dry Down. Not even close. The Primus Dry Down, to me, it straight up smells like dirt. The Aventus is still, has that fruity note, but this still smells really good. The Aventus still smells really good. The Primus, not so much. The Club de Nuit is getting a little bit more earthy to me, but not as much as that Primus. It still has somewhat of a fruity note. Again, this is the Aventus, and this is Sensual Obsessions. It's not as citrusy to me as the actual Aventus, but it is very close. So on the opening, I think the Primus is very similar to the actual Creed Aventus, but the dry down seems to sort of take a left turn somewhere. And out of these, this is Primus, Club de Nuit, Sensual Obsessions. Honestly, out of these four, between Primus, Club de Nuit, Sensual Obsessions, and the actual Aventus, and to my nose, the Primus is similar. It's closest to, out of these four, it's closest to the Club de Nuit Intense. Club de Nuit Intense, Primus. This has, the Primus has even more, like a very, to me, intense earthy smell, more so than the Club de Nuit, but the Club de Nuit only has maybe a slight hint of that, whereas this is very strong in that note. So in my opinion, with the Absolutio, that is very similar to the Baccarat Rouge 540. Again, I only have the regular version. I do not have the X straight, but it is extremely close to that. The Primus, it's a little bit all over the map. It wants to start out just like Aventus, but then it takes a left turn somewhere and gets lost, I think. But out of these three here that I have, the Club de Nuit Intense, Man, the Sensual Obsessions, Balanced Batch, and the actual Creed Aventus, it has a similar vibe to the Club de Nuit Intense, but even more so with that dirty note. And to me, that's just not pleasant. But so that's my take. Maybe some of you have compared these to some of the originals that you have, or some of the other clones that you may have in your collections. Go ahead and put your comments below. Let me know your take. Do you think they're similar? Do you think that they're their own thing? Make sure you hit the like and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so that the next time a video comes out, you get notified. Let your friends know, and I'll see you next time on Swift Sense.